Here at the NI Days 2025 in Bengaluru, I'm now joined by Mr. Baskar Ceri, who is the Managing Director India for Immersion Test and Measurement. Bhaskar, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayank. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the time. Yes.
So, Bhaskar, if you can give us some insights on NI's India business, what's the role that the India vertical is doing for the global business for NI?
So, as you know, NI is a platform company in the test and measurement, right? And right now, India is an inflection point in a lot of the technologies, whether it's semiconductor with this government of India pushing semiconductor mission, it's EV 30 by 30, right? 30% of EV vehicles, or in the aerospace defense where we need to be self-reliant and there are a lot of investments going in being self-reliant, local technologies. In all of this, any products that are being made, like testing is an important aspect, right? From the design to the validation and to the production. And we see a huge area that NI and our partner ecosystem can play in making India self-reliant in all of this area, semiconductor testing. So any new product that needs to come or any new system that needs to come needs to be tested, and that goes from the design stage, validation, production, and in use, the whole product life cycle. And NI plays and NI in India, we are playing a very important role in all of these sectors with several of those customers that you'll read about, you'll hear about, all of those names. We have been working with them to improve the product quality, time to market, quality, and all of those in India.
Right. If I pinpoint specifically on the automotive segment here, so what's the new, requirements you're seeing coming from the industry?
So I think we have already seen the EV playing, but if we really look at, it's more of mobility, right? There are multiple aspects on the mobility, on the e-mobility, right? Software-defined vehicle. I think a lot of this is going to be software-defined in terms of, and then V2X, V2 systems, what the communication is. And EV is just one portion of the whole mobility. And I think NI has a role to play in all of this, the communication systems, the ADAS, going through the testing of the various cycles that are happening, right? Various scenarios that can generate. Sensor testing, the various sensors that are being used in the ADAS. And of course the EV, the cyclers plus all of that. So NI plays a role in all of that. And we have partners like Tata Technologies that we announced at the NI Day today, who are the domain experts, who are the SI, who can take our tools and apply it as per the customer requirement and help our customer reduce their time to market. Like one of the examples they pointed out, even the customer estimated 15 months and they were able to do it in 5 months, the whole test system. So that's the direction we see, especially in the automotive, in all of those software-defined vehicles to all the mobility solutions.
Right. When you talk about, this ADAS vertical, so, like we know, India is a very unique market in terms of our road conditions, and you need very specific scenarios to, test these systems catering for the Indian market.
Yes.
So what's happening there in that particular area, and, how are you seeing your partners sort of develop these scenarios and, synthesize them locally for, providing foolproof solutions for the Indian market?
Yes, I think you brought in a very good point, right? I think in India, we already have level 2 and level 3 vehicles coming in and ADAS features in a lot of our vehicles already. I think the scenarios to build in is going to be very important. I think India has a unique with the individuals, with the cycles, with the motorbike, the number of motorbike that's going to run. And I think that needs to be built in the test systems, in the test scenarios. And I think that's what the OEMs will look. I think foreseeable future, I can see level 3 playing a big role in India. And I think level 4 would take some time as the global companies are focusing on the well-developed market where they're already, US and Europe are going to see US regulations are a lot more fast-forwarded than the European regulations right now. I think probably India might follow much later. But like you rightly pointed out, the test scenarios are going to be very unique set for India. And I think that's an open area. Some of the Indian companies or Indian startups can play a big role.
Right. What's the work that's being done out of the R&D center of NI in Bengaluru?
Okay, we have the second biggest R&D center for NI outside of Austin, our headquarters. Out of the 5, 6 that we have, this is the second biggest. So we have identified over a period of time, this is going to be our software innovation center and excellence center. So the core software that NI built, we used to be known as a LabVIEW company because that's our first graphical programming, what engineers instead of line coding can use flowcharts. So that work happens in that's owned by the NI Bangalore office and built around it. Similarly, our test stand product, which is used for test sequencing, which increases the test speeds by 10x. So that is being done in very stand. So we are looking at India R&D, software R&D, become the Software Innovation and Excellence Center, which will own all of the NIs or most of the NI software products. And there's also a lot of RF, radio frequency work happens. Like for automotive, it's all of these sensors that you see, LiDAR sensors. For aerospace is the radar, right? It uses the RF domain. So that work also happens in the RF software work is owned and developed in our R&D center in India.
In correlation to the R&D center, there's also this topic of industry academia partnership. So are you also like doubling down on that in terms of reaching out to more universities, tier 1, tier 2 colleges in India to get the right talent?
Yes, so we already have kind of 50 plus universities that we work with. We had established some kind of a lab, some kind of a teaching environment. In some syllabuses, LabVIEW is taught in instrumentation and electronics, because at the end of the day, what we have seen is Indian universities, the Indian engineering students go through some whole course 4 years, but they don't do a hands-on things, right? I mean, I interview a lot of students, you ask them simple engineering questions, they struggle with it. And that's where the hands-on, what we announced, one of the products, having a breadboard and doing an oscilloscope or a multimeter, engineers struggle with that, right? That's a 12th standard, maybe first year. And that is where we have a tie-up from a teaching perspective with a lot of colleges. Second is research. I mean, Indian universities focus a lot on teaching and getting them a job. Whereas if you look at developed countries like US, research is a very big component. Either the professors get permanent, teachers because of they get the research and how much money. I think that culture needs to come in India. I think we see that in IITs and top colleges, but I think we see that trend also as India is stepping up. We will see a lot of research happening and private industries working with universities for that research. And I think that's where, again, we will collaborate a lot. And third, the engineers coming out. We used to do something called NI Yantra about 5-6 years back. We're kickstarting that during the COVID and all of that. We had dropped that. Now again, this year we kickstarted something called a system design concept, where a professor or a lecturer could be a mentor and about a team of 3 to 5 engineers who will pick up some specific challenge. It could be an industry challenge or a community challenge, and build a system around it, and then go through the whole system design concept. They can understand the system, moving away from just studying in the books. So that is something that we have kicked off with our partners. We have already received some 200. We have, I think, several entries. We have screened up to 200 entries. From then we will go shortlist 12 who will build a prototype, and then what we are telling them is whoever is the winner, we'll sponsor them a trip to NI US, our NI Connect in Austin, where they'll actually present in front of the whole T&M crowd what they have built on it. So that's something that again we're kickstarting. We've seen a lot of excitement on that.
You're also in the hub of the startup ecosystem of India. I mean, Bengaluru is the next Silicon Valley. I mean, it's the Silicon Valley of India. So what potential or what opportunities for NI do you see emerging from this budding startup ecosystem in the mobility domain in the country?
I think we see on the EV side, we have seen a lot of companies coming up. Again, you didn't ask about space. Space is something that new space is a lot of startups building that up. So we set up an engineering innovation center a few years back, predominantly looking at bringing in customers and then testing their prototypes. And we had some early success with startups who didn't. Some of this technology for testing could be very expensive. So as a startup, you don't want to invest in it. So we had some early success working with some startups, our application engineers, bringing it in, doing some tests, and then changing their prototype, working on that. We saw that and then said, okay, why don't we make it as a proper, and that's what we rolled out, a technology accelerator program about 6 months back, where we are inviting both the automotive, transportation and space tech startups, where they are building something where they can use our engineering innovation center. We provide our application engineering support to test it, to build it, to prototype it, and then we can even train them on some of the tools. Once they validate it, then when they go to production, again, they can use some of our test systems.
Right.
But predominantly, again, mainly focused on India startup ecosystem.
Just to close this, Baskar, what sort of growth potential do you see for NI's business in India? What are going to be the key drivers for that? And how optimistic are you for the business in the coming maybe mid to long term future?
I think every business is saying this. I think India is an inflection point.
Right.
I think I'm looking at a lot of articles. I think we are at a place where China was probably about 15 years back. And we can see how our GDP and China GDP used to track very closely till the 90s, right? And after that, it took off exponentially. I think we are in that place. I think as the grown economies are tapering or growing at a moderate rate, I think we have the potential to take off. And that is going to come from a lot of this hardware and ingrown systems in India. And that is where we play a role, right? I think our technologies help engineers, scientists, organizations to innovate faster. Right. And like I mentioned in the group, I think we're very excited about more than the MNCs. We, of course, work at a lot of MNCs, very excited about the Indian companies building technologies for India and the world. Right. And we are very, very excited. We have seen that growth over the last few years. And I think next decade, I'm really, really excited about that. Right. Both as an Indian, of course, as for working for NI.
Right. Right. On that note, Baskar, thank you so much. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Pleasure talking to you.